Hi, I'm Anita. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another video on dagger beads. Have you ever wondered what to do with all of those dagger beads in your stash? Well, I have quite a few myself. So today I'm going to be reviewing another technique for changing the colors and giving you a little variety instead of having a solid color dagger bead. And here's just an example of what I have on hand. And here's a few ideas on how to do one particular color combination that I'll be reviewing today. And there's multitudes of options out there. You can make your own design, just be a little creative, and you can come up with some very beautiful patterns. So for today's project, here's what you need for materials. For tools, you want a good set of flat nose pliers, a sharp pair of scissors, and for your findings you need a couple of pair of fishhook ear wires. And for your creating the project, what you need is 8-pound Fireline and a size 10 beading needle. And for your beads, you need dagger beads, approximately 26. Each earring will have 13 dagger beads. And then you'll need approximately 18 counts of the 11-0 seed bead. You can use Miyuki or Toho and in any color. I'm using galvanized silver today, and then these are two different shades on the dagger bead that I'm using, which this is an iridescent crystal with a little AB finish, and these are a very light green color, kind of an ocean green color, very pretty. For the length of beading thread that you need, each earring takes approximately about 30 inches. So you can cut that to length so your thread isn't that long to deal with. So 30 inches of thread should be enough to do one earring each. So your total would be 60 inches of Fireline that you're going to need for today's project. Okay, let me clear my area and we'll get started. Okay, so to start your project, you want to take your beading thread. In this case, I'm using Fireline, 8-pound. With your flat nose pliers, you want to squeeze the tip of the Fireline to flatten it, and this will make it easier to thread your needle. So pinch the thread in between your fingers and push through the eye of the needle. Once you have it through, pinch with your other finger on your right hand and pull through like that. So there you have a threaded needle. So to make it easier to follow your pattern, I like to lay my beads out in the order that I'm going to be making my design, and this saves you a little time to figure out how you're going to put these together. So our first bead is going to be our bottom center bead, and you're going to take your needle and go in through the bottom hole of your dagger bead. And by the way, these are 2-hole dagger beads. So you're going from this direction, bring your thread through, and leave about 3 or 4 inch tail. You don't need much because we're going to cut that off. So now come through your top hole like that. Pull your thread through. Now go back through the bottom. Like that. Pull your thread. And now we're going to go back through the top. This reinforces your thread so your dagger bead will not be coming out. So this is what you have so far. This is your tail thread. We'll cut that off in just a moment. And then this is the thread that your needle is on. So now we're going to add another bead. So when we're adding beads, Rule of thumb you want to remember is you're going in through the bottom hole to start to attach it. So we're going in this direction because that's our thread is pointing this way. So we're going to go in this way on the bottom of our bead right here. Pull this close. And now we're going to bring our needle through the top hole of the new bead we added. Bring that through. And we're going to add the green bead on the other side. And just remember, we're coming through the top hole here. We want to do the same for the one that we're adding. So pull that down. And there you have that. It's a little awkward getting started, but once you have a few, it'll get easier. So now we're going back through the bottom hole because we need to attach it to the first bead that we created here. So when you're coming through the bottom of this dagger on the right, you want to make sure you're going through the top hole of the first bead we put on, like that. And pull. Now we're going to go through the bottom hole of the green bead on the left, like this. Pull. And now go through the top hole of both beads, one at a time, because they're at an angle, so it might be a little awkward. This will complete this row. So now we're going to go through the other top bead like that and pull tight. So we're going to continue in this manner. I'm going to grab another bead. We're alternating colors, so I'm using a crystal. Now, if you notice, on the crystal bead, it has a front and a back, and you can tell this having that little shadow here is the back of the bead, and the front is smooth. So you want to make sure that this is facing up. Otherwise, your design is going to look funny because you'll have some beads that are backwards if you're not facing these in the right direction. Not all beads have the back side, like these opaque ones. They're the same on both sides, but when you're getting with crystal type beads like this, there is a front and back, so be careful on how you orient these so that they're facing the correct direction. Okay, so I'm going to add my new bead, and remember, when you're adding a new bead, you're going through the bottom hole and you're going in the direction whichever way the thread is pointing. Now I'm going to go through the top hole like that, get my next bead for the left and make sure that it's facing the right direction. Go through the top hole like that, and then go through the bottom hole because we need to connect it to the two center beads. So from here we're going to go into the top hole, we're doing the left side, and now we're doing the right bead top hole in the middle like that. And you're constantly rotating your work, so just hold it in any position that's comfortable for you. So from here we're going into the bottom hole of this clear bead on the right. And to complete the row, we're going to go through the top hole on the two crystal beads like that. And that completes the row. So we're going to continue in that manner until we get all 13 dagger beads added. And just remember, when you're adding the clear beads, make sure that their orientation is the correct side up, because you don't want to put these on backwards. So continue. If you need to rewind to see the steps, go ahead and rewind and just continue, and I'll meet you back before I add the last 2 beads. For here, I'm going to go ahead and cut the tail off because we don't need that. So with your scissors, just cut as close as you can. And I'll see you back in a few minutes. Okay, we're back, and I'm down to my last 2 dagger beads. So coming out of the top hole of this green dagger bead on the right, I'm making sure that this clear bead is facing the correct direction, and I'm going in through the bottom hole. Now through the top hole to connect my other bead on the left hand side. I'm going to go through the top of that bead, making sure it is facing the correct direction. Now you want to hold this steady so that we can get the top 2 connected to your existing work. So we're going in through the bottom hole and the top hole of that first green bead. Pull, carefully rotate, go through the top hole of this other center bead and through the bottom hole of the clear bead on the right. Pull. And to complete the row, we're going in through the top hole of the 2 crystal beads. Make sure your thread does not get tangled. Pull. And that completes the base. We're going to add 9 11/0 seed beads for your loop. Pull those down, and we're going to come into the top hole on the dagger bead on the opposite side, pointing the needle towards your work. Pull. Reinforce by coming back up through the dagger bead top hole and go through your 11/0 beads, a few beads at a time, and rotate your work so that you can get your needle in easily, like that. And go back down through that top hole of your dagger bead. You're going to progress your needle through the top hole of your left bead. Then come down through the bottom hole like that. Go ahead and put a knot right there, and you do this by putting your needle under the thread bridge. Pull till you see a small loop, and then bring your needle back through that loop. And pull so that the knot is right as close to your work as you can do. Come down through another bead, top hole. Just follow your thread path. Now we're going to go through this top hole of this other center bead. And then down through the bottom hole of that same bead. Do a half hitch knot here. Making sure your thread is above the dagger beads. Pull. Then we'll just travel down a couple more beads and we'll cut off our thread. come down here, then up one more pass. Take your scissors and cut as close as you can. And if you have any stray threads, you can take your thread burner and just lightly tap that, but I think this is pretty good. So now we're going to attach our ear hook, and to do that, take your flat nose pliers with your ear hook in your hand. You want to find where the loop closes and bring this end up with your flat nose by pulling up just enough to get it over the seed beads. Now we're closing the jump ring with your flat nose and pulling down to close that opening. Make sure there's no gaps. And that completes your earring. Isn't that beautiful? So the possibilities are endless when it comes to doing a dagger earring like this, because you can change the colors, you can make your own pattern. So be creative, and you'll be amazed at what you can come up with. Okay, so that concludes today's recording. I hope that you give me a big thumbs up, and I hope that you subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing more content, and feel free to check out my website. I do sell jewelry, so you'll see that in the description and on the screen at the conclusion of this video. Happy beading, and thank you for watching.